Welcome, everyone. We're excited to have everyone on today, and it's going to be an interesting time. This will be a good conversation about innovative solutions for uncertain times. And one of the things
Seems like we lost Jeremy's audio.
we'd like to do is have an open. This doesn't mean that you can't pose questions to us. You can always reach out to us at Mark. At Qolsys.com, or of course, reach out to our one. Can't hear you, Mitch.
Okay, you can hear me now, yes? Hey, everyone, we'll get started momentarily once we figure out Jeremy's audio.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Jeremy, I just want to make sure your audio is good. You were cutting in and out.
Some technical difficulties. Okay, can you hear me okay?
On and out, on and off. You're coming in and out.
Yeah, it's doing the same for you, for me. From the audience, can you guys hear us okay? If you can, find the chat and type in if your audio is coming through clearly, if you can hear myself, you can hear Jeremy, or you can hear Mitch, or maybe one or the other or both. Please let us know in the chat. We can make sure that we get that fixed before we start.
Okay, looks like everything's fine.
Okay, you guys can hear us okay?
Okay, so hopefully you are hearing me now.
Yep, I can hear you.
Excellent. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to welcome everybody to the second Z-Wave Alliance Virtual Academy's Webinar Wednesdays, coming to you every, well, obviously Wednesday. We've got a pretty exciting agenda and a pretty wide variety of quality content and presenters coming up. Next week on June 10th, Residential Smart Lock Market Trends, Use Cases, and Opportunities, and I stress the opportunities part, presented by Colin Dupree from Salto Systems, and you may be familiar with Dana-Lock, who is one of their brands. The week after, on June 17th, we've got the Z-Wave 700 series getting started with Dr. Z-Wave himself, Eric Reichert, who's with Silicon Labs. If there's anything you guys would like to suggest, please do let us know. We're going to continue these Webinar Wednesdays until further notice. Meanwhile, it gives me great pleasure for today's event to introduce our speaker, one who probably needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. Our speaker runs marketing for Qolsys, a Silicon Valley-based security and smart building manufacturer. He and his team focus on creating true partnerships with their customers to provide powerful content marketing and go-to-market strategies to improve sales, support, and brand awareness, as you can tell by the topic of today's session. I've had the pleasure of working with Jeremy on many occasions, on panels, on webinars, on a show floor, at industry events. And at some point, I look forward to joining him on a Jeep escapade, but I'll let him tell you more about that. But meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Jeremy McLerran.
Thank you, Mitch. It's an honor to be on here today, and I, just want to start by saying I love the Z-Wave Alliance. I've had a really great time interacting with all the people at the Alliance and learning more about Z-Wave, and anything we can do to help the technology and philosophies of Z-Wave move forward. We are actively working to do that. So thank you for having me on today and for the opportunity to share a few of the things that not only me but the rest of my team and even our customers have been doing during these uncertain times to kind of come up with better ways to sell and install and, you know, kind of adapt to the very unique time that we live in right now. Mitch mentioned going on Jeep adventures. You know, Qolsys, if you don't know, stands for Quality of Life Systems. And we believe that one of the tenets of our organization is that quality of life or your personal life comes first. So in my personal time, I love to mountain bike. I love to spend time with my family, my wife, and my 5 children. And one of the ways we like to spend time together is we own a Jeep Wrangler and we go down to southern Utah and go exploring, whether that's driving through one of our local national parks. We've got 5 here in Utah, or going out and doing some rock crawling in Moab, Utah. That's a great place to check out sometime if you're ever in the area. It's a lot of fun to see what the vehicle can do and to find new places that most other vehicles can't get to. So it's been a lot of fun. And I do look forward to having Mitch out and taking him down there and getting him nice and dusty. Let's jump right in. We don't want this to be only a presentation. This should also be an opportunity for you to interact with us. So please find the chat, the questions and answers. You know, type in any questions you have along the way. We'll do our best to address them. For those of you watching this as a recording, we don't want you to feel like you're missing out on the opportunity to interact with us. You can reach out to me anytime at marketing@qolsys.com. That goes directly to my entire team, and myself and the rest of the team will be able to address it and help support you in any way, shape, or form that we can. That's marketing@qolsys.com. Let's jump right into the presentation today. And I want to first start by talking a little bit about some of these uncertain times. I think, you know, there was this feeling at first when, you know, the pandemic first hit that we're going to get through this and then everything's going to get back to normal. And I think perhaps we're looking at a new reality. And I think that's becoming more and more apparent. You know, there are shelter-in-place orders still all over the nation. Shelves are harder to stock these days. You know, for those who do have stores open, you'll notice some of the things you used to get are not always there. And so you have to plan in advance on things. You have to kind of, you know, look for things differently. We're working from home. Many, if not all of us, are working from home, you know, doing webinars, doing video chats, doing, you know, all sorts of things, phone calls and things like that. So it has changed the dynamic of work. But at the same time, we also have this essential businesses clause that's caused an actual increase in work for so many people. You think about your own situation. I know myself being working from home. I'm here in my master bedroom where I've set up a home office. And, you know, it's not uncommon for my wife to say, hey, can you fill in the blank? Can you make sure the fill in the blank gets fixed? We're seeing cars, trucks, and servicemen and women out in the streets all the time doing various things. And never before has the nation said, well, not only are we going to support local businesses more than ever before, but I got a long list of things to do. And that might include for you, you know, getting your security system up and running, getting your automation system up and running, getting your, you know, home theater up and running, things like that. You know, maybe you want to have a more meaningful time at home. And how do you do that? Well, some of these things, some of these services that you previously had, you know, installed but never finished, or desire to install and never did, now those trucks are rolling. So it's very interesting. And as a result, the security industry is actually seeing minimal supply chain disruption from COVID-19. We're actually seeing an uptick in sales in some cases, and, you know, at least level sales compared to the, you know, pre-pandemic as a result of it. Then there's this new element that's coming in right now. And you've got this civil unrest happening because of riots and protests all over the place. Yet again, gun sales are going up. Investors are, you know, putting money into things like ADT and gun companies and things like that. And so again, even though there's this uncertainty happening and people wanting to stay in more, again, it's potentially helping the industry. And I've heard people call the security industry specifically recession-proof, and I don't know that that's accurate. I don't know that it's recession-proof, but we are definitely seeing a change in business. When the pandemic first hit, I did a series of webinars on how to do social distance installing and selling for these uncertain times. And I did a poll during that. We had probably close to 800 people on those webinars. And during the poll, I asked, in the past year, has business been up, down, or the same? And you'll notice that 64% of the respondents in that particular webinar said that business was up. In the last 2 weeks, and again, this was right after the pandemic hit, is business up, down, or the same? And we noticed a lot of people said down in that particular case. And we asked them about, poll data, so again, going with poll data from our recent webinars, who their biggest competition was. Was it other traditional security companies? Was it Vivint? Was it ADT? Was it Ring, Simply Safe, or Nest? Or was it telco cable companies? I wish that I had that same group on a webinar today and I could ask them this and compare the results, because they were claiming that other traditional security companies were their biggest, competition. But look at the ADT and Ring, Simply Safe, and Nest numbers. Those are going up, and I'm willing to bet that because of the amount of people that are seeing Ring, Simply Safe, and Nest advertisements, that those are probably rising up even more. Companies that can install at a social distance and can install remotely or DIY are gaining ground. And so for the traditional professional installer, it is causing a little bit of a challenge because, and if you look at the next piece of data, our current sales channels are in person makes up 78% of the business. If 78% of your business is in person and you can't do that kind of sales now, that means that you've got to rely on over the phone, company website, affiliate partner marketing, and social media. And again, many of security companies are used to being a great little local company that everybody relies on. You see their trucks around town, and maybe that's still happening. Maybe that's still, again, being an essential business, allowing you to go out and do those things. But how do you get the word out? How do people see you and think of you before they think of one of these online companies like Amazon or Google or things like that? And again, when we talk about those sales funnels limitations, if in-person sales and in-person consultation has gone away, that leaves you only with referrals, your website, social media, and affiliates and partnerships. And admittedly, many of these companies that are out there with their trucks, with their installers, are not doing as much with their website. They don't have a dynamic website that's always changing and has e-commerce on it. They're not necessarily involved in social media or have someone dedicated to try and driving leads or driving business in social media. And maybe they're working with affiliates and partnerships. Maybe they've got an affiliate with a local electrician or a plumber or a solar company. But now we're looking at it saying, okay, we've got to find a way to bump those up because we've got to replace all the in-person sales that we were doing previously through door-to-door, home show, and walk-in visits. So that leaves phone, e-commerce, and video chat in order to get a sale. And to do that effectively, you need to have a phone team. You need to have someone on the phones who can answer the phones. Now, maybe your same sales staff can say, well, I'm working from home now. I can answer those phones. How do you get the phone calls to go to those people? E-commerce. How do you build a website with e-commerce on it? Are you going to use a Drupal site, or are you going to use WordPress? Or are you going to use a Wix or something like that? How are you going to implement that in there? Who's going to manage that, and how are you going to execute that? Video chat is fairly new. How are you going to get customers to call you on a video chat line? Who's going to answer it? Are they going to be ready all the time? Are they going to be wearing makeup and and clothes and pants and things like that? So it's a very unique thing, and again, it's causing our customers, the dealers in the security industry specifically, to have to ask themselves, how can we evolve? And so they need something that is going to help them evolve. They need solutions to help them evolve. Not right now, baby, thank you. They need solutions to help them evolve. They need solutions to help them get better and bigger and turn into what they need to be for the upcoming time. They need differentiation from the competition. If they're saying, look, we've got the same stuff everyone else has, choose us instead, what makes someone want to call you versus calling the competition? What makes them look at the Google Nest solution as an example and say, I'd rather choose my local company versus Google? If they've got Google phones and Google home hubs in their house and they're using Google for their search engines, there's probably some brand loyalty to Google there. How do you get them to say, well, I also want to be brand loyal to my local company as well? So you need some differentiation there. They've also got to still support the legacy installed base. There's a lot of accounts on 3G out there. There's a lot of accounts that need to be converted to LTE. There's a lot of accounts that have old wireless technology that needs to be updated. So they've got to still be able to support those legacy things without having to rip everything out and put a whole new system in. So that means that you also need flexible installation options, okay? If you can't go to a house, or even if you're allowed to go to a house because you're an essential business, but a customer says, well, I'm a protected class. I'm not sure I want you inside my house. You need options there. And if you're going to be doing a lot of this stuff remotely, you need better diagnostics, better remote troubleshooting. And of course, you still need a robust ecosystem, especially when you're comparing yourself to some of the other people out there. You need to be able to have, the ability to do everything: lights, locks, thermostats, cameras, all of the above, security, life safety, all the different categories that you're attacking. You need to be able to have it. So I want to share with you, I want to share with you for a few minutes what Qolsys is, who we are, and what we've done to try and address some of these for our dealers and our customers. And I want to start by talking about our partnerships. When it first came through, people looked at us and as we first started, it said, you are this tiny, tiny little company, and you're going up against giants. Honeywell, GE, and Tyco DSC. There are massive companies out there. The incumbents have massive, massive market share. They're huge companies with literally hundreds, if not thousands, of employees. How on earth do you ever expect to compete? And the first thing that came to our mind is partnerships. We don't have to have hundreds of employees. What we do have to do is partner with companies that do have massive, massive bases. And when you compare our partnerships with Alarm.com, Johnson Controls, Qualcomm, Android, and Foxconn to the size of the Honeywell and GE, size companies, we literally have massive, massive partnerships behind us. And what we did is we leveraged those partnerships instead of having to go and start from scratch and build something unique. What we did is we used our partnerships to build something that was really quite unique. And so we started with a computer or a tablet, essentially, and we added a security panel into this. And by combining the two of them together, we ended up with the IQ Panel. Okay, the IQ Panel 2 Plus is our latest iteration of that platform. It is essentially a security panel and a tablet combined. It has inside it 7 different wireless radios, LTE, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, an access point, Power G, a legacy radio, either a 319.5 megahertz radio or 345 megahertz radio or a 433 megahertz radio that really covers probably 90 to 95% of the market that's out there, of the existing legacy market. And of course, and most importantly, Z-Wave Plus. We love Z-Wave for lights, locks, thermostats, garage openers, and so much more. It's such a powerful platform, and being able to not only integrate with devices that are already in a customer's home, but being able to add new ones is a critical part of being able to build out this ecosystem. The other thing that's really important is we need to recognize as an industry that smartphones have become the benchmark for all technology. This is what all consumers measure technology about, against. Every time you get in a rental car, not that you've been in one for a very long time. Every time you go to an airport, not that you've been at one for a very long time, and you look at the kiosk or you look at the display on the rental car. If for those that aren't traveling, every time you're going over to a friend's house and seeing their home and interacting with things, every time you pick up your TV remote, every time, we're literally comparing everything to our smartphones. And the questions we ask ourselves subliminally in our mind are, does this feel like my phone? Is it as fast as my phone? Is it as intuitive as my phone? I mean, just the other day, I picked up a universal remote and I was like, wait, what do I do? How do I do it? An app-based is so much nicer for an experience, being able to pick and choose and rearrange and just the intuitive nature of the app. Again, the smartphone has become the benchmark for all technology, and we have to recognize that anything that doesn't feel like a smartphone is going to be perceived by the consumer as lesser technology. And lesser technology does not come at the same price tag as current technology. So if you've got yourself a great app, but you're having to install really bad hardware in the home in order to enable that app, again, the customer's going to look at that and be like, oh, well, at least I have the app. But you really want to have a great, great experience from start to finish. And we really like to focus on that customer experience. And that leads me into the next subject, which is differentiating features. If you are comparing yourself as a security company against your local company that's been in business for many years, or a Google or an Amazon or something else, there are features unique to Qolsys, unique to the Qolsys and Alarm.com combined solution that will really help set you apart. The first one being that looks matter. When you compare the beauty of the IQ Panel 2 to the beauty of the rubber button keypads, for lack of a better term, that you get with a Nest or Ring solution, the IQ panel wins every time. This is a beautiful 7-inch touchscreen with an intuitive interface that feels just like your phone. Again, keeping that same, like this should feel like your phone, the experience should be like your phone. It's got a built-in camera, just like your phone. There's so many great things that you can get disarmed photos from it. There's touchless disarming. Your phone connects with your panel as you arrive and disarms the system. Your security system disarms as you walk into the home. Your front door with a Z-Wave lock on it unlocks. Your Z-Wave thermostat turns itself off. Your Z-Wave lights turn on. There's this beautiful coming home routine. And think of it from a COVID-19 perspective. It's not only a beautiful and easy coming home routine, it's a sanitary coming home routine. Instead of walking up to the door, fumbling with your keys, turning your door lock, opening your door, going in and pressing the buttons on your thermostat, pressing the buttons on your security system, turning on and off your light. Now you've got something that if you come home and you haven't sanitized everything yet, you're only touching the doorknob to open the door and get in. Everything else is happening automatically. Put your groceries or your bags on the counter. You can sanitize the front door, and now everything's nice and clean. So touchless disarming is becoming not just a convenience thing, but also a sanitary thing. Live answer, again, something that was meant for convenience, the ability to answer your video doorbell from your smartphone or from the panel's 7-inch HD screen. Beautiful experience, great for letting kids inside the house. You can unlock your Z-Wave door right from the front. You can, disarm your security system right from the screen right there. But again, put it in COVID-19 perspective. Now, instead of answering the door and putting yourself at risk, you can answer the door safely from inside the home, inside that centrally located panel, instead of all the way up by the front door. It's safer, it's more sanitary. Again, a better experience for people that are either sheltering in place or in a protected class, or just simply don't want to expose themselves to strangers that might be carrying who knows what. From a legacy support standpoint, one of the things we mentioned is that dealers need legacy support. Dual SRF featuring PowerG gives you that legacy support. We've got support for any of the older technologies as well as the forward-facing technologies with PowerG, the long-range encrypted security and life safety wireless communication protocol. And of course, a really robust ecosystem with Z-Wave being able to get lights, locks, thermostats, garage openers, the list goes on and on and on. And we've got a tremendous partner in Alarm.com, who I mentioned earlier, to give all of those things that you can do on the panel in the palm of your hand in the form of their app, and their interactive mobile app is really, really great. I don't see any open questions, at least on mine, and maybe those aren't visible to me. Mitch, if there's any questions, or Janet, if there's any questions that pop in from the audience, please jump right in and interrupt me. I'm happy to address those right away.
Got it.
Without questions, we're going to keep on going. So go ahead, Mitch. Was there anything that cropped up?
Nope, you can keep going. You're covering it.
Great. So I want to talk for a minute about diagnostics. Another need that our dealers have is the ability to measure how things are working in the home. That helps them get in and out of the home faster, exposing themselves less, and making it more convenient for the customer. But it also helps make sure that installations are done properly. We have robust on-screen tests that measure signal strength for sensors, that measure your Z-Wave network. You can actually see that the photograph in the middle, that's my personal Z-Wave network on my home. It's mapped on the screen of my IQ panel. You can see that some of the, if you can, look at the presentation there, you can see some of the things are actually being used as repeaters, and you can see which ones are being used as repeaters. There's a couple things in there, like the basement Christmas tree. The Christmas tree is not plugged in right now, so we basically had that unplugged. So that node is not even showing up in the map. But you can see that network map, and whether you're using it as an installer to ensure that everything's working well, or you're saying that, I want to troubleshoot a bad sensor, or maybe you're having your customer pull that network map up and saying, tell me what you see on there. Oh, that laundry room's not working right now. Yeah, or maybe that was because it was a smart light bulb. Maybe there's a switch that's turned off. Can you check that for me? Oh, look, yeah, there it is. There's the switch. Turn that back on, and now it's working. So a really great way to analyze and troubleshoot things either remotely or while you're there on site. And you can see the list on the right side there. There's a long list of tests that we make available on the screen and remotely to allow you to be able to do those kind of things. And that list of tests doesn't stop there. we are constantly improving that. Every time we're developing something new, we're adding it to the panel via software update. And I want to show you just an example of some of the software updates we've had over the years. If you look at our first generation panel to our second generation panel, and now our IQ Panel 2 Plus, which is kind of a 2.5 generation panel, there have been new software updates on a regular basis. Qolsys is working very hard. And we think of ourselves more of a software company than a hardware company. I think if you look at the number of employees we have, we might have 5 to 10 people in our hardware department. You know, we obviously have a partner in Foxconn doing a lot of hardware work for us as well, but the actual Qolsys employees is like 5 to 10 people. And yet we have hundreds of people working in software. So the software really is the key factor that allows us to be so flexible, allows us to push stuff. In fact, if you look at some of the features like Bluetooth disarming, like the ability to do live answer with your video doorbells or live view with your interior or outdoor cameras on the panel screen, many of those came via software update. They came as a software patch that was delivered over the air, and consumers that already had a previous edition of the panel were able to update their panel to get that as well. We are constantly looking for new things to implement, and one of the latest things is Z-Wave Smart Start, using the panel's built-in camera to scan a Z-Wave Smart Start device on the screen, and then it will automatically learn in with the system. So lots of really cool advantages and features that we're constantly adding, and the team is always looking to add more. And as we continue to innovate, not just on hardware, we're developing our third and fourth generation platforms right now. We will never stop working on our software to continue making sure that that's always fresh, new, exciting, and interesting for your customers. And what that really gives you is the ability to have one platform for every solution. And it's really unique, because if you look at the way most traditional security manufacturers do business, they say, well, this is our commercial platform. And then we have a separate set of hardware for residential. And we have a separate set of hardware for multi-dwelling units, for example, things like that. Whereas with the Qolsys IQ panel, it's the same platform, but inside the software, you're simply making adjustments. You're saying, enable this setting. For example, commercial. If you were installing this in a commercial setting, maybe you're not going to use Bluetooth disarming because you've got a lot of employees and we're not going to connect everyone's phones, but you're going to enable partitions that allows you to have 2 different security systems essentially within the same, you know, panel. One for the warehouse, one for the front office, you know, whatever it is. So you've got lots of different ways. Maybe it's screen lock that you want to lock it out so, you know, people in your retail store where your panel is installed don't go up and change your settings or do things. So there could be any number of things. It could be wellness, could be multi-dwelling units, or apartment complexes. Maybe it's a hardwire system. Maybe it's energy and utility. We've got settings built into every single panel that when you enable them, it allows you to go and address that vertical or address that market with the same platform. And you don't have to worry about training your people on a whole new platform. You don't have to worry about supporting a whole new platform when people are calling in and have questions. You don't have to worry about stocking a different platform, you know, from an inventory management standpoint to a training standpoint to a support standpoint and to a cost standpoint. You know, if you have to meet minimums on each of your different platforms, instead here, now you've got one platform you're using everywhere. It also allows you to get into new verticals. Maybe as COVID-19 hits, one particular, you know, area of your business that was your bread and butter has fallen a bit. Well, maybe you can supplement that by getting into the builder market, or maybe going into the multi-dwelling unit or wellness opportunities. You know, there's lots of wellness opportunities right now with the health crises that are going on. Maybe you want to start going in and you know, looking at some of those and saying, how can we provide great solutions? So hopefully that gives you some ideas of ways that Qolsys is helping you, you know, address some of these things. But I want to specifically help you answer the question, how do you take a pro solution into our new reality? And that's a really key component here, because a pro solution is oftentimes installed by a pro, and we don't have the luxury of installing in a pro scenario every single time. I'd like to propose to you 2 scenarios, one being light glove and the other being white glove. In these 2 scenarios, and they're very similar scenarios, both of them can be deployed as a self-install. And the question you'll be asking yourself as you look at both of these is, am I going to do it, I the dealer or the installer going to do it, or am I going to ask my customers to do it? And the green represents stuff that you would do. In the light glove, you would basically say, I'm going to push everything possible onto my customer and let the customer do as much as possible with the on-screen wizards and the tutorials and things like that that are made available through the Qolsys panel. In this case, you don't ever even need to open a box. You would simply create your commitments, enter the panel's IMEI, box and ship everything up, and send it to your customer. Now, the customer opens that box, they plug it in, they power it up, and they're going to use the easy install wizard to connect their own Wi-Fi, perform a system check, download any templates that you've pre-selected from the cloud, learn in their sensors, apply adhesive, place those sensors in the right location, test those sensors. Maybe now they're going to place their Z-Wave devices, include those in the network. They're going to add users, pair their phone, log into the mobile app, and then they can test their system. In the case of a white glove scenario, maybe you want to say, I want to do as much as possible so my customer does as little as possible. In that case, you're still activating the commitment. You're still entering the panel IMEI, but now you're also adding in sensors. You're going to power up, the employee is going to, at your office or in the truck is going to plug in the panel, power it up, run the wizard, apply the adhesive to the sensors, test those, include any Z-Wave devices that are needed, and then they're going to box that up and ship it. And that box and shipping could be a delivery instead of a UPS. Now your customer is going to open that box, plug it in and power it up, and use the easy install wizard to do the things that you can't do from your remote location. You can't connect the Wi-Fi because you don't know what their credentials are. So, and the panel couldn't see the network from your office. So when they plug it in, they'll connect their own Wi-Fi. It'll perform a system check. They'll place the sensors in the appropriate location, test those out, place the Z-Wave devices that are already, paired to the system. They'll add users, pair their phone, log into the mobile app, and then test the system. So again, two very different scenarios. And you could even see that in some cases, you might want to do a virtual pro install. But I don't want you to think that a pro install isn't possible, because in many cases, what we're seeing is that our pro customers are saying, hey, we're going to give you a self-install now so that A, you can support our business during this tricky time, and B, you can have security right now without us having to actually come inside your home. But that doesn't mean we're not going to come back later. Maybe post-COVID, we're going to come back and have a scheduled upgrade appointment where we will take the panel off the table stand and install it on your wall. During that time period, we're going to market to you. We're going to tell you, hey, you should get a video doorbell when you refer a friend, or hey, you're going to join our Facebook group and get some great tips and tricks and learn about new features. Maybe you could get a smoke detector when you refer a friend, or get a smart thermostat when you refer a friend. And you've got time to get new referrals that generate new business, but also plant a seed with them that when I come out to do my pro install, I'm going to redeem all of those things you earned. You earned the video doorbell because you referred a friend back in May. You also referred a friend in June, and you're going to get that free smoke detector. And you were, referred another friend in July, and so you earned that smart thermostat. And now here we are in August. I'm here to do your upgrade. I'm going to take your any old equipment off the wall, install your new panel in your desired location, install all these new devices you've earned, and let's talk about what else you might want to add today. So it's a really beautiful way of continuing to support with a pro install, but being able to do it in some of these uncertain times where you might not want to be rolling trucks. And this same concept applies to LTE upgrades too. If you've got existing customers that need an LTE upgrade, you could still mail out the panel, let them do all those things, get it all installed, and then market to them with the promise of coming back later when you've got the bandwidth and you've got the time to come do a pro install. Now, there's certain things that you have to have in order to do a pro install. Not every security system out there will allow you to do a remote install followed by a pro install. And one of the things we've got here at Qolsys is the battery is pre-plugged in, pre-activated, everything's good there. Most security companies, the battery ships separately because of UL requirements. The way we've been able to do it is we've been able to get UL certified with the battery still intact. So you don't have to worry about that, which means your customer doesn't have to install a battery, which can be pretty tricky in some of the older technology systems that are out there. The power is literally a barrel jack, the same as plugging in your phone to a charger. You could do the same thing here. It's got a nice little cover you remove, you plug in the battery, plug in the power, and close the cover back up. There's a table stand included with every single panel, and you can literally snap it right in. The consumer can do that themselves. Adhesive on sensors instead of screws and bolts. Pull tabs to activate batteries, so you're not shipping a sensor, with the battery already activated, but the consumer themselves could pull those tabs out. We also would suggest that whether you deliver systems via UPS or FedEx, that you could also consider having your technicians do the delivery. We've seen tremendous success with customers who are delivering systems, dropping it off on a customer's porch, and then they'll stay in their van and say, hey, I'm maintaining social distance here, but I'm going to stay in my van, and if you need anything, call me, and I'm happy to walk you through it. Open the box up, get your things installed. I'll be right outside waiting to support you if you need me. And whether that's through a video chat or a phone call, either way works. Others are delivering the systems and saying, hey, well, we're going to deliver to you a system, and it will have a QR code included, and that QR code will allow you to visit a web page that has our FaceTime number or Google chat number or whatever it is on it, or phone number if need be, and on-screen instructions, whether that's video or whatever, and they can literally use their phone to do it. In fact, if you're watching along, whether this is on the recording or this is live, I want you to pull out your phone camera, okay? Pull out your phone camera and scan that QR code you see on your screen right now, and watch what happens. I'm dialed in my phone right here, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to scan, and when I do that, it gives me this little thing that says, do you want to open this in Safari? And when I click on it, it brings me to this web page, and now I can scroll through the instructions. The first thing it says to do is to open my box and to find my panel and to locate my touchscreen and power supply. And then it shows me pictures of how to install that panel, how to install the power supply, how to click on the table stand. As I go down, it shows me how to power on the panel and start the initial settings and run through the wizard, and how to pair door window sensors, how to put my adhesive on my door window sensors, where to place my door window sensors. I mean, all of this, and it's not very visible on the camera, but you can see it if you scan that. As you scroll through the page, you'll see all of those things right there showing you how to do this whole entire install, right in line with the panel's on-screen wizard. We've got a lot of dealers implementing this right now, and they're reporting back tremendous success. Some are saying they're video chatting. Others are saying they're using the website. Others are saying they're using phone for support. Others are saying customers are doing it on their own and looking forward to being able to refer friends and get a pro install appointment later on down the road. So it still makes the value there. We've also had some great responses in terms of being able to market, and we've seen a lot of people. You can see On It Smart Home is one company that is saying, hey, look, you've got appropriate social distance by using the video doorbell on the IQ panel, being able to answer your door safely at a safe distance. All American Alarm Systems is saying, hey, a self-install program is available. Look how beautiful this is. And they're using the beauty of the 7-inch touchscreen to attract new customers and differentiate themselves from the other things that are out there. Other people are doing things like friends and family deals. You can see this friends and family deal. We had someone the other day ask us to make this, and we put their logo on it. They asked not to share theirs on the webinar, but we built this for them, and they sent that out to all their customers and said, please put this on your Facebook page. And their customers put the advertisement for a friends and family deal on all their Facebook pages or their neighborhood Facebook groups. Many people have neighborhood Facebook groups. It's a great way to get referrals, and they are giving them an incentive for every person from that neighborhood Facebook group or their own Facebook page that comes over and gets the system. Again, you could even put a spin on it. Help our business stay afloat during these uncertain times. Help keep our technicians busy by referring your friends. Or, hey, there's some crazy things going on in the world right now. I know you're probably looking for a security system. Choose the company that I have, and I get an extra incentive, and that helps our family out too. So, however they choose to spin it, it totally works. And, a big one is to watch your terminology as you're going out to market, as you're talking to people. Use terms like social distance. I was talking with one of our customers just yesterday, and we were looking at their website, and I said, your website's beautiful. You've done a great job with it. You're ready for e-commerce, but nothing in here feels like our current times. You've got a COVID-19 message and a banner at the top, but you're not talking about, social distance installs or the ability to do these things during these uncertain times, or, protecting yourselves during, the riots or protests or things like that. How do you want to differentiate yourself? And they realized they're using the same terminology that was pre-pandemic, riots, and saying we need to be able to show our customers that we are ready and able to respond right now. So your terminology is really important. You can say DIY, but that's not going to be nearly as powerful as a social distance install or a self-install. Those terms really seem to resonate with customers. You can say things like, upgrade your system. That's a really nice terminology. Customers are used to hearing that with their smartphones. Upgrade to the latest device. Instead of saying things like get a new system. Upgrade your system is a piece of terminology. So as you're doing this, look at the terminology that cell phone companies are using, cable companies are using. These are the companies that your customers are doing business with all the time. Use that same terminology in your marketing too, so you can be successful. So we covered a lot today, and I know there's, hopefully, it's been able to address all of the different things. Again, if you want, support, you can learn more at Qolsys.com or email us at marketing@Qolsys.com. But in summary, it's smart to pick the right partner, because picking the right partner allows you to be able to do all the things you want to do. If you pick a partner that can't enable differentiating features, that doesn't have ability to give you a self-install option, it's going to hinder your ability to do business during these uncertain times. You've got to pick the right technology. You want software updates. You want Bluetooth disarming and live answer, from a remote location, things that are going to resonate with today's consumers. You've got to market in today's reality. Knowing what's happening in the market today, knowing the kind of things that your customers are concerned about, worried about, or excited about will allow you to key into those items and market using that terminology. You've got to be flexible and innovative. Maybe you've always been a traditional security company. You've always been the kind of company that goes to the customer's house and sets up their audio visual things and things like that. But is there a way for you to be able to adapt and be flexible and innovative in your approach that allows you to meet today's needs? And more than anything else, you must focus on the customer experience. Put yourselves in their shoes. What is the customer going to see? How is the customer going to get it? How are they going to feel about it? Does this meet their needs? Does this meet their expectation for technology in their home? Does it feel like their phone? Does it feel like they're the kind of things that they're used to doing? And the more you can answer yes to that question, the more you can give them the experience they expect, the more powerful you are going to be in the market, the more popular your products are going to be, and the more successful you'll be, even though you've met these uncertain times. I hope that was beneficial to you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Mitch, in closing, is there any questions or comments from the audience that we'd like to address, and anything you'd like to add?
Sure. Actually, we do have a few questions here. If you don't mind, I'll ask them. So I guess
Please.
The first question I have is, what, if any, challenges has the installer or Qolsys experienced with doing the self-installations? What should we be prepared for?
Good question. I think, I think of each of these items as ingredients in a recipe. And, no two recipes are the same. Your business is different. The way you like to market, what's important to you, what you have resources for is going to be different. Maybe you don't have trucks, or maybe you've got trucks and installers, but you don't have, your installers are saying, I'm worried about going into people's homes. I don't want to put my family in jeopardy. I've got an elderly parent at home, and so therefore I can't work now. You have to analyze what is your resources and then compare them to what you can do. I'll give you some examples. We had a customer the other day say, I have trucks and people and the ability to do this, and people aren't stopping me from coming in, but how do I make sure that my customers, have fully understand all this stuff, because I don't want to spend a lot of time in their home. How do I do this? And how can I develop a series of videos perhaps that allow the customer to watch videos and do the customer training part of it themselves instead of doing it? And we worked through and walked through those things with them. Understanding what your bandwidth is, what your opportunities are, is going to help you better understand which ingredients are right for you. Maybe you don't have trucks, and therefore you're going to have to rely on UPS, FedEx, or the U.S. Postal Service to deliver your products to your customer. Maybe you're not being stopped, from delivering products, but their customer won't let you in the home, or doesn't want you to, or wants you to wear protective gear, things like that. So there's all sorts of, different aspects of this. I would really encourage you to look at your situation and decide which items of what we described today fit you. And if you want help with that process, again, you can email marketing@Qolsys.com, and we're happy to say, analyze based on your situation. Here's the items that are going to be most important to you. You're going to want to make a web page like this. You're going to want to make, a flyer like that, and we can help you with all of those things. So great question.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, another one kind of in the same vein. And I guess the question here is, do you have any concerns, or should the dealers have any concerns about minimizing the value of professional installation if you're going ahead and offering up self-install? I mean, does the value of the work you do in the home kind of decrease or diminish?
It's a great question. There are always going to be devices that consumers are not going to want to install. Door locks are easy to install yourself if you know how, but that's one that a lot of customers don't feel comfortable with. Thermostats in some states require an HVAC license unless the consumer is going to attempt it themselves. Many customers don't feel comfortable with that. Wiring in a new Z-Wave light switch, that's a challenging thing, and most people are not going to want to tackle that. There's always going to be opportunities for professional install. I would ask you, if you look at your business and knowing what if it's possible to push as much as possible onto the customer that they're comfortable with, and then allow you to focus on the things that customers aren't comfortable with, is there a compromise there? And no two customers are alike. You might have some customers that say, I'm ready to tackle all of it. Other customers will say, I don't want to do any of it. And there's a nice scale there where you've got lots and lots of things. And one thing that's consistent through all of it is the consumer wants someone to guide them through this process. The consumer wants someone to be able to say, even if you're not installing it, you're at least telling me which ones to install, and you're ready with a phone call or a FaceTime, chat, whatever. If I get stuck on something, if I have a problem, you are ready to be there for me, that a lot of the other DIY companies are not able to do. So, being able to provide your services in that way, in a support standpoint, instead of an installation standpoint, might be a pivot for you, might be a way to evolve. But again, as we evolve as an industry into companies that are not just installing products, but also servicing products long-term, you'll see loyalty go up, you'll see usage go up, and you'll see upgrades go up. The other thing I'd like to add on that is, if you think about consumer expectations for technology, more and more, there's lots and lots they want to do, but it's very, very few customers who are going to buy everything today. You've got to start thinking of your customers as a long-term investment, not just because you want them to pay you long-term, but because you want them to continue to upgrade their systems. And the more they upgrade their systems, the more they add devices, the more they're adding Z-Wave lights and locks and thermostats and things like that, the more sticky that customer becomes, and the more they're going to want to refer their friends. So the mentality of, I'm going to install my customer and never talk to them again, needs to change. We have to start engaging with our customers on a regular basis to help them see that we can do video doorbells, we can do smart lighting, we can do door locks, we can do garage openers, we can do smart thermostats, we can do flood detection, we can do all of these things. Every home will be a smart home, and in 5 years, the market will look significantly different. The question you want to ask yourself is, do you want them to buy it from Best Buy or Amazon, or do you want them to get it from you and have a better experience? I believe that this industry especially is perfectly poised to be the engine that will deliver the Internet of Things to today's consumers if we're smart enough and ready enough to attack that and address that need right now. Great question, Mitch. Thank you.
Excellent. So for those participating in the event, David Coram has actually posted a couple of links on the chat window, which you may want to take a look at in terms of getting some training for preparing the workspace for COVID-19. I guess I got one last question, and I think you might have touched on it in one way, but let's talk about partnerships for a moment. And I know the partnership between Qolsys and the dealer is pretty strong. Most dealers are actually going beyond just the security side. How can a dealer leverage your experience in establishing these types of partnerships?
Phrase that one again, Mitch.
Okay, so dealers are going to partner with Qolsys, but obviously there's going to be other devices that are going to be provided for installation, right? You've done a great job of establishing the partnerships with dealers. Dealers are also looking for other partnerships to round out perhaps their offerings. Any suggestions or tips on how dealers can leverage your experience as they build partnerships with other suppliers? Maybe that was a better way to explain the question.
That's the first thing I would say is, you are all aware of this because you're attending this, but the Z-Wave Alliance is a tremendous resource. If you're not spending time on that website, looking at what devices are out there, looking at what's possible, you need to. There's a lot of really, really great things. And the Z-Wave platform can provide a lot of the different things you're looking at: lights, locks, thermostats, so garage openers. There's a lot of different products out there. So as you're looking at those, you want to not only see what's out there, but then you're going to want to compare that to where you buy from. Now, there's a lot of people who will sell to you direct, but chances are you're already buying from a distributor. Does that distributor have a recommendation on what you might get based on what the inventory has? If you walk into that distribution branch or call your distributor and say, hey, I'm already buying the Qolsys IQ panel and I need a great door lock, what do you recommend? They might say, we've got a lock right now in stock that we've got a special on and you should try it out. Maybe they've got an incentive of some sort that they're running a promotion with the lock manufacturer that will allow you to get a better deal on something that you wouldn't have normally gotten before. So go to your distributor and find out what they would recommend. Now, that doesn't mean that they're the only source for that. Obviously, the Z-Wave Alliance is going to show you what's possible. Your distributor can tell you, but even the manufacturers, if you were to come to us and say, hey, I'm really looking for a great partner for this kind of technology or this kind of integration, what can I do? Chances are there's an integration that already exists today that you could take advantage of. Or in the unlikely scenario that you're recommending or asking for something that doesn't exist, you might spur a conversation that says, that's a fantastic idea. Let's talk about that and see how we can create an integration that we can launch through our next software update so you can use it. So whether it's interoperability on Z-Wave or an integration with another protocol or another technology, whatever it is, there's lots and lots of opportunity out there. The other thing I would recommend is, if you're not doing it now, it might not hurt to do a little polling of your existing customer base. Ask them, what kind of products and solutions are you looking for? There's two reasons why this is a really good idea for you. Number one, it shows that you have those available technologies. If you ask your customers, are you looking for video doorbells? They might be thinking, whoa, I didn't know you did video doorbells. If you say things like, are you looking for smart lighting? They might say, wait a minute, you do smart lighting? Oh, that's interesting. The other thing that does is it helps you know what your customers might be interested in. And I would even ask you to include a poll question of, which technologies have you already bought? There's a high chance that they've bought a technology already. Maybe they bought a Philips Hue light bulb and it's a great product and they love using it, but they wish it was integrated with everything else they were doing. And if there was a way to integrate that smart lighting in, now you could start talking about Z-Wave lighting and well, I want to do more, but it's a separate app. How do I get it so it's all within the same app and the same experience? You can then coach them through that experience. Again, you're the professional. You're the expert. They're looking to you to have that. They just didn't know you did it because you haven't talked to them in a long time. So you've got to interact with them. You've got to tell them, here's the new services I can offer. If and when you're ever interested in one of those services, let me know. The other advantage that gives you is if and when that customer gets an email from an Amazon or a Best Buy or a Target or whoever and says, check out our new smart light bulb or whatever. They might think, ooh, I'd love a smart light bulb, but I'm going to call my company first to ensure I get one that works with the system so I don't have to open up separate apps when I want to interact with my smart home. So that interoperability is really, really key. And you, again, like I said before, can help enable the Internet of Things in their home when you're able to consult with them the right way.
Hey, Jeremy, that's some great insights. And I definitely want to thank you very much for the presentation and for the insights you've provided. If anyone would like to reach out to you directly, Jeremy, how would they do that?
The best way to do that is to email marketing@qolsys.com. That's marketing@QOLSYS.com. And that will then go to my entire team and will allow you to be able to get an answer back from any of us, and we will work hard to fulfill your needs. And we really do believe at Qolsys that we are a true partner and not just a manufacturer and supplier. So we want to work with you and we're looking forward to it. Mitch, thank you for letting me be on today. This has been a lot of fun.
Oh, it's our pleasure. And I can definitely tell you that Qolsys is a really good partner. So thank you again, Jeremy. I suspect others will want to continue to reach out to you. And as always, we thank you for your support of Z-Wave and the Alliance. And as far as next week, yep. Okay, as far as next week, do remember next week on June 10th, same time, same channel, we're going to have Colin Dupree from Salto, also Dana Lock, talking about the residential smart lock market, which actually ties in very nicely to what Qolsys is doing here. So again, thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Janet, for setting these things up. and we hope to keep you coming to our events here. Thanks, everyone. Be safe.
Thanks, everyone. Yep. Bye.